Okay, everyone, we're live to the last Sevier County Democratic Party's candidate forum. My name's Autumn Anderson. I'm the vice chair of the Sevier County Democratic Party. This is our last session featuring U.S. Senate candidates Marquita Bradshaw, Robin Kimbrough Hayes, James Mackler, and Mark Pickrell. This event is slightly different than our first two in that these candidates are actually running against each other in the August 6th primary election. Also running on the Democratic ballot, but not participating, is Gary Davis. We encourage you to check out all the candidates before casting your vote. We will drop each participating candidate's website and Facebook page in the comments so that you can follow up with them if you want to get involved in their campaign. Although we had to move this forum online, we want it to be as interactive as possible. So we have executive committee members monitoring the comments in the live stream to pass your comments on to the candidates to answer in real time. The candidates will introduce themselves and then they will answer your live questions and some that we received by email in advance. Every candidate will answer the question regardless of who it's directed to. I have established the order for responding in advance. Each candidate will have 90 seconds to respond. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to wrap up at the end of the Q&A portion. So we're going to start with Mark. And Mark, could you introduce yourself, please?
Sure. Thank you, Autumn. Really appreciate it. My name is Mark Pickrell. I'm a lawyer and entrepreneur. I was born and raised in Oak Ridge, and I went to UT for law school. I have started a company, Virtuoso Surgical Inc. So my entrepreneurship involves trying to bring some pretty amazing technology to market for benefits of patients and surgeons around the world. My law career has been primarily appellate work in the federal system. A lot of that has involved criminal justice reform, the Voting Rights Act, and other significant national cases. When it comes to criminal justice reform, I've had the good fortune of being able to have some of the key cases in the federal circuit that controls and covers the state of Tennessee. I'm running for Senate because I'm interested in changing the direction of our nation's economy. I have thought for many, many years that over the years and decades, we have created an economy that is increasingly unstable and increasingly unfair. And so I decided to throw my hat into the ring and work with these other excellent candidates so that we can try to have the best nominee in November. And if you're interested in economic issues and turning the economy around, I hope that you'll look at my campaign website. Thanks, Autumn.
Thank you, Mark. James, you're up next.
Hey, thank you, Autumn. Thank you all for having me. I need to start by saying this is an important moment, and I want to acknowledge the ongoing murder of so many Black Americans and the systemic racism that's gotten us to this point. We can do better. We must do better, and we need leaders in Congress who will say that Black lives do matter so that we can begin to have discussions to heal these deep wounds, because on this and in so many ways, Washington is failing Tennessee. Since I launched my campaign at a closed rural hospital in McKenzie, 3 more have closed, and Tennessee now leads the nation in closed hospitals per person. Opioids are ravaging our communities. There's no national solution, and frankly, people aren't even talking about that anymore. And the trade war, it hurts Tennessee's economy more than any other state. Add in COVID-19, there is a perfect storm gathering across Tennessee. People want change. Throughout my life, I've chosen service. After we were attacked on 9/11, I closed my law practice and I joined the Army to do more in a time of crisis. I learned how to fly a Black Hawk helicopter and did that in Iraq with the 101st Airborne Division. When I came back, I became a JAG officer working to protect the survivors of military sexual assault and prosecute criminals. My first job out of the Army was working with the Mine Safety and Health Administration because coal miners need justice, and coal mine companies that put profits ahead of people, they've got to be held accountable. I'm running for the U.S. Senate for the same reason I joined the Army. I am stepping forward to serve the state and the country I love in a time of crisis. I'm an outsider, a veteran, a man of faith. I'm a different kind of candidate, and I know we are not going to solve our nation's problems with our leaders tweeting insults, with them denying the existential threat of climate change, busy looking for their next infusion of secret corporate cash, and ignoring the needs of the people they're elected to serve. My wife and I are determined to raise our country in a country governed by courage, not by fear, where public education is the pathway to opportunity, where a hard day's work earns a living wage, where access to healthcare is a right and where access to women's healthcare is a right, where we're all free to live, love, speak, and pray as we choose. Now, I'm really honored that Tennessee leaders like Leader Karen Camper, Governor Bredesen, Mayor Madeline Rajero, State Senator or Representative Gloria Johnson, and many more have heard my message, believe in it, and have endorsed me, an outsider and a veteran, as the best candidate for the U.S. Senate. 60,000 working men and women represented by Tennessee's AFL-CIO called me the right person at the right time for Tennessee. Tennessee's firefighters have endorsed me because, unlike Bill Hagerty, I won't take away their rights to collectively bargain, and I won't force our cities into bankruptcy and cause more job losses during a pandemic. Planned Parenthood Action Fund and NARAL have seen my lifelong record of standing up for women and endorsed my campaign as the best way to flip this open U.S. Senate seat, flip the U.S. Senate majority, and put an end to the hijacking of our judiciary by extremists. And I'm most proud that individual grassroots donors in all 95 counties have heard my message and invested their own money in my campaign and in sending better leaders to Washington. That is the only way that it's going to happen, because I'm not taking corporate PAC money. I appreciate the opportunity to be here this afternoon, and I look forward to the conversation. Thank you all.
Thanks, James. Robin, you're up next.
For having me here. I'm glad to be here. My name is Robin Kimbrough Hayes, and I'm running for United States Senate. I'm a lawyer and a chaplain. I can handle the job. As a lawyer, I've argued cases all across the state of Tennessee, drafted legislation, reviewed policies. As a chaplain, I know how to sit with grief, anger, fear, and suffering, and even in those times of our greatest joys. I grew up in a trailer park in Lexington, Kentucky, and it was rough. Some trailer parks are good and some are bad. I grew up in a bad one. But the trailer park taught me how to stretch resources to make a lot out of a little and gave me the drive to get an education. I went to Fisk University in Nashville and Emory School of Law in Atlanta. I practiced in the public sector as an assistant attorney general for the Tennessee State Attorney General's Office, an associate general counsel for the Department of Children's Services, and I spent 10 wonderful years working as the legal counsel for the Tennessee Coalition to End Domestic and Sexual Violence. For many years, I was a single mother. I had to pay out-of-pocket health premiums for my 2 dependent children, almost $300 for my son's medication. I picked up a 3rd job to cover these expenses. No one should have to work themselves to death to live. This is why I'm running to be a United States Senator, because I believe there are many people struggling like I did in the trailer park and as a single mother. I want to change the culture of our nation, from where the rich get richer and the poor get poorer and sicker. I want to take back our democracy. I want to take back our rule of law. And in the words of Fannie Lou Hamer, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. We witness so many times the unfairness and inherent racism in our social justice system. I have an effective plan that will reform our criminal justice system and make it better for everyone, and to make us believe again that we are one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I will fight for Medicare for all. I will fight for the Green New Deal. I will fight for the rights of the LGBT community. I will fight for equal pay, equal work for equal work and equal pay. And I will fight to expand funding for victims of domestic violence. The same fight that got me from the trailer park in Kentucky to the courtrooms in Tennessee, I'm going to take to Washington as your United States Senator. Passion for Tennessee.
Thank you very much, Robin. Marquita, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
My name is Marquita Bradshaw. I grew up in South Memphis. Right now, I'm a mother of a technical college student, and I'm a caregiver, and I'm a community organizer by trade. I grew up in South Memphis, where everything was in walking distance, a thriving community. We even had our own drive-in theater that we could see from our yard. We walked to school, And right across the street from our school was the Army Defense Depot. It closed down in 1995. That was the year that I gave birth to my son. And I was kicked out of the hospital 24 hours after I gave birth, a cesarean birth, because my insurance dictated that. After leaving 24 hours out of the hospital, my great-grandmother was my doula. And she coached me through breastfeeding and kept me and my son alive because we were fighting infection. Only with a third grade education was she able to do this. Her death was devastating to our family. And as time went on, more people died in our community. And a lot of people are still sick and suffering. All because people in DC did not represent us well in South Memphis. We had a military landfill full of chemicals made to kill people and plants. Our community is running rampant with illnesses related to the depot. We had a decision to make. We had to decide what type of America did we want. We could have stayed silent, but we fought. We formed organizations and we got other people engaged in the political process. What called me to action is when other children started having problems with uterine, ovarian, testicular cancer, and prostate cancer between the ages of 13 and 18. That is not the kind of America that I want. I, and along with people in my community, we worked the political process. We engaged in the process. We got involved beyond voting. We drafted legislation with legislators. We were able to get some things through, but we always came across a brick wall when a Washington outsider promised us that he would carry our bill in the United States Senate. But he sat on it and he did nothing because our lives did not matter. Racism what brought me into this fight. What was happening in an environment. There are over 2,000 Superfund sites across the state of Tennessee. And that's what made me get involved. I am running to be your next United States Senator because I want to work for you. I don't want anybody to feel what it felt like to not have a healthy and safe community. I'm fighting for all hardworking families to have healthy and safe communities. We need leaders who will not only fight for working families, but who have lived these issues. One who understands going through bankruptcy due to a healthcare system that's not working under the American Affordable Care Act. One who's experienced the impact of pollution. My name is Marquita Bradshaw, and I'm working hard to be your next United States Senator. My hometown is Memphis, and I know because of the disparities that we face as a community and going across this whole state of Tennessee, talking to voters, that we deserve someone who has lived the issues and will fight for us in Washington, D.C. And I'm that candidate. I need your vote and go to my website, marquitabradshaw.com, to learn more about our platform for the state of Tennessee.
Thanks, Marquita, and everyone else for your introductions. So at this point, I'm going to start with a couple of questions that we were emailed in advance by people who either couldn't participate because they don't have Facebook and couldn't answer on the lives or ask on the live stream, or they plan on watching this later because they couldn't watch it right this second. So our first question is from Dan S. And we're going to start with Robin and then go to Mark and then Marquita and then James. And that question is, in 2019, 2020, there was a lot of discussion about a Green New Deal to address climate change. And separately, there has been a multi-decade call for action to address environmental justice. How do you see these issues as related? And what kind of priority would you place on that as part of your legislative agenda? So Robin, you're first.
Thank you for this question. I want to say that I have signed a pledge for the Green New Deal. And so what I'm hearing the person asking is, what is the correlation between environmental justice and the Green New Deal? So the Green New Deal does provide provisions to address issues of environmental racism or environmental injustice. So when you talk about environmental injustice, environmental racism, you're talking about the location of nuclear plants in predominantly brown and Black communities and poor communities, and dump sites located in these same communities. And as a result of this, emissions in the air and pollution are cause health disparities in these communities. And as we saw with COVID-19, mostly brown and Black people were affected by COVID-19 and died from COVID-19. And it's because of these health disparities, which are connected to issues of environmental racism. So I see them directly connected as we rethink the kind of energy we use and how we manufacture energy and what we do with our waste. So the Green New Deal addresses these concerns, and I believe that we need a robust plan to address environmental racism, to address the use of renewable energy, and thus reducing the use of fossil fuels. Because if not, we will not be able to sustain our environment from anyone. But we need to understand that environmental racism is connected to systemic racism. And we need robust plans like within the criminal justice system. We need them also as we address environmental issues to break the cycle of hate in our community.
Thank you, Robin. Okay, Mark, same question. Did you need me to ask that again?
No, I think I'm good with it. Thanks. Yeah, I think I have not signed up for the Green New Deal, and here's why. I believe that it has a lot of very good aspirations, but it is woefully short, in my opinion, on the details. I believe that the most important thing for whoever we send to Washington is going to be solve problems by actual specific detailed steps and plans. And one of my concerns about the Green New Deal as it was published in Washington was that it didn't have a lot of legislative detail behind it. I certainly share the goals of the Green New Deal, and particularly when it comes to economic justice, I believe that we need to have specific funding levels for Superfund sites and make sure that specifically that when it comes to communities of color, that we make sure that those Superfund plans and work and solutions, one, maintains those communities, two, make sure that health takes care of for everyone, and ultimately three, that the environmental impacts that we've incurred over the years will actually be cleaned up. And so I do think Marquita Bradshaw has done a great job with her leadership on this issue. And it's one of the things that I've enjoyed about this process is listening to her when she talks about environmental justice and the role that it plays with systemic racism. And so I can only say that I support unequivocally the efforts that she's been leading. And ultimately, we need to have actual solutions in Washington to solve these problems. And that's the approach that I would take. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Marquita, did you want me to repeat the question, or are you good?
I am good.
Okay.
To be in a field of lawyers, and my whole platform is based on a legal term called environmental justice, shows you the type of scholarship that has to happen within the classroom and outside of the classroom through learned experiences of how Black, Brown, Indigenous communities bear the brunt of pollution. The reason why we have a climate crisis that's spilling over into our foreign affairs is because we have a problem with pollution. And so the solution to environmental justice is to work on ending pollution by moving to a zero waste infrastructure. That means that's going to take some responsibility. The Green New Deal is a great start, but it takes the right person to go to DC, like myself, to lead those conversations, who's been closest to the pain, that knows what it's like to have a community that's been stripped economically through the education system, and also not having environmental integrity in your air, water, soil, or groundwater. We cannot exist, no matter how well the economy responds, with an earth that's failing everyone because of our decisions. It wasn't even our decision to put a Superfund site in Memphis, Tennessee, down the street from my home, across the street from my elementary school. It wasn't our decision to put 222 more Superfund sites in Memphis, Tennessee. There are 2,000 Superfund sites across Tennessee, and it takes someone to know that it's tied to our health to go fight for the people who have been directly affected and filling in what the Green New Deal should look like.
Thank you, Marquita. James, same question. Did you need me to repeat it?
No, thank you, Autumn. I've got it. The Department of Defense has called climate change one of the greatest threats to our national security. And I agree. It's climate change deniers who say that we have to choose between the economy and our environment. That is a false choice. We can have both. Just look at Oak Ridge National Laboratories right nearby. They demonstrate that we have the capacity here in Tennessee, the ingenuity and the resources to tackle big problems, but we're not going to do it when one party continues to deny the existence of the problem. And we're certainly not going to do it if we elect someone like Bill Hagerty, who completely denies the science. We can create a clean energy future. We can create jobs. We can protect the environment. And when I get to the United States Senate, I will make sure that Tennessee is well positioned to lead the way in realizing our next clean energy future that's going to become the basis for both an economic boom and cleaning up the environment.
Thank you, James. Okay, so our next question comes from SJ, and he has sent us this question, and it is, several Republican candidates for the congressional seat as well as Senate seat have begun to use television advertising to present their ideas and platforms to area voters. Have you seen any of these ads? And if so, is there an ad or claim that lowers the bar of fair discourse? In short, what claim or assertion, if any, rankles you? So we are going to start with James here.
Where to begin? I think what this comes down to is that our political system is broken. Our system works best when people have their voices heard, when they can volunteer and, of course, vote. When our individual voices are drowned out by floods of corporate cash, we all suffer. What we're seeing right now is the results of the Citizens United decision. Ever since Citizens United, we can't even start to have clear, honest conversations on important issues like the role of money in politics, the cost of healthcare, the cost of prescription drugs, gun violence, climate change, you name it. There's too much money invested in maintaining the status quo, and those special interests are lining up to fund Bill Hagerty and his deceptive advertising. Citizens United literally opened the floodgates for billionaires and corporations to play with our elections with unlimited and untraceable dark money. Something has got to change. We have to overturn Citizens United. We have to increase transparency so we know who's funding what and change the way campaigns are funded. Otherwise, we have no chance at changing Washington. I think that change starts with me. And that's why my campaign isn't accepting corporate PAC money. Unlike Bill Hagerty, I'm going to work with corporations and individuals that employ Tennesseans to strengthen our economy, not to fund my campaign. And my campaign is and always will be fueled by thousands of contributions from individuals all across the state of Tennessee. I'm so proud that we have grassroots donors in all 95 counties. And I'm proud that the leading voice on campaign finance reform and Citizens United has endorsed me as the best candidate to lead the way on reform in this U.S. Senate race.
Thank you, James. All right, the order is going to be Marquita, Robin, and Mark. So Marquita, you're up next.
The most influential Supreme Court decision in our lifetime has been overturning Citizens United's case. This ushered in the most money that has ever been funneled into campaigns and disturbing our process and keeping grassroots leaders from being able to compete in this process. I have funding from all over the state of Tennessee, from hardworking families that is competing against millionaires and billionaires, even within the Democratic primary. All you have to do is check the disclosures to find out where the money is coming from. We have to do things to protect our democracy, not only overturning Citizens United, but make Election Day a national holiday, outlaw gerrymandering, have voter registration legislation that protects our ability and right to vote in America. We have to ensure that voters are able to automatically register and participate in the process. In order to make sure that our democracy represents our republic by people being able to participate, we have to make sure that we put these things in place. And I am the best choice and the first choice that you should send to Washington to make sure that our democracy is protected from billionaires and millionaires making decisions for hardworking families all the time.
Thank you, Marquita. Robin, did you need me to repeat the question? You're muted.
I believe the person was asking what were some of the most disturbing pieces of these Republican commercials and our response to those.
Yes.
Okay, so the most disturbing messaging of these Republican commercials is divisiveness and hate. And we have to address that with love. And we have to address it by shedding the truth on the corruptness of their commercials, the lies in their commercials with truth. The Republicans, for whatever reason, have outspent us. The Republicans together have more money than every Democrat on this platform today. This is why it's going to take something that money can't buy to beat the Republicans. The Republicans are spewing out hate, and we've got to come with something different. We've got to energize the voters, and we've got to let them know that there's a sheriff in town that will help them, that will care about them and has compassion on them and will tell the truth to them. And not only tell the truth to them, but tell the truth to those in power. So yes, I am disturbed by the hate that they're spewing, because this hate for many years has resulted in the killing of innocent Black people by police officers. It has resulted in people being uninsured. It has resulted in 40 million people losing their jobs because of COVID-19 and their health insurance. And we must change the culture of our nation. We've got to fight with weapons that are not carnal, but that reflect love and power. Because otherwise we're going to continue on a cycle of hate and divisiveness when our country is supposed to be one nation under God and indivisible. And this is why I'm going to flip the seat. This is why I'm going to bring energy and change to this election in August and in November, and I will beat the Republican.
Thank you, Robin. Mark, your response, did you need me to repeat?
No, I'm good, thank you. I do think that it's interesting that as we Democrats sit here and try to figure out how we are going to best contend with the Republicans in November, I think it's important for everybody to recognize, or at least it's certainly my belief, that the Republican voters of this state, some of whom you have to win over in order to win this election, are sick and tired of their own party and a lot of the negative things coming out of their party leadership and their party establishment. And so I think that the way to take advantage of that is for us as Democrats to be united and to be decent and civil. And as Robin said, speak truth when truth is not spoken. I am running ads across the state on television and on radio. And in those ads, I've gotten a lot of really positive feedback from Memphis to Bristol because I'm trying to remain positive, constructive, upbeat, detailed, problem solving, and seeking common ground. I will say when it comes to PAC donations, that it's not just corporate PACs, but it's all PACs that I don't take money from. It's not just PACs that I don't take money from, it's bundled donations as well. If we're going to start, it has to start with us to get our message out like I am with my television commercials and my radio commercials, but also by the way that I campaign and by the way that I do my fundraising. And so I would encourage everybody, if you don't like PAC money, pick the candidates to donate to who don't take any PAC money. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. All right, so our next question is from Rich H. And he wants to know, do you support the new nuclear arms race Trump has begun, including the new nuclear bomb plant in Oak Ridge that Senator Alexander has facilitated. And the order for the responses is going to be Marquita, Mark, James, and then Robin. So Marquita, you're up.
Foreign policy should focus on strategic investments in diplomacy and developments to build a better, safer world through environmental integrity, strengthening education, and investments to stabilize economies. We should be a leader in participating in the world bodies and leading the agreements to move towards ending proliferation. We have to know by now that nuclear weapons don't have a place to go at the end of their life cycle. In my community, there were nuclear warheads spilling over into our air, water, and soil. We have to make sure that we protect the integrity of our society from not only pollution, but also a nuclear arms race. I need you to go to my website to find out more information about why I'm running and why I would be the best candidate to represent the state of Tennessee as your next United States Senator.
Okay, thanks, Marquita. Mark, you're up next. Did you need me to repeat it?
No, thank you. Had to unmute, sorry. We are wasting trillions of dollars on military spending. And after you have thousands and thousands, even tens of thousands of nuclear devices, you do not need any more. And so it's a travesty that we have chosen for years and for decades to overspend on our military, to engage in military adventurism, to increase the arms race, particularly the nuclear arms race. And so one of the key platforms that you can see on my economic plan is that we reduce military spending so that we can prioritize other spending and so that we can reduce our national deficit. This is one of those that I think is a no-brainer for this whole group. I think everybody agrees that we should not waste this money and we should not make a riskier world with these nuclear devices. And so on this one, I think we're all going to be in agreement, but I can certainly say for myself that this is an incredible waste of money and we should stop it now.
Thanks, Mark. James, you're up. Did you need me to repeat?
Please.
Okay. Do you support the new nuclear weapons arms race that Trump has begun, including the new nuclear bomb plant in Oak Ridge that Senator Alexander has facilitated?
Having actually served overseas in combat, I know that our alliances enhance our national security. Those relationships make us safer. When our allies know that we will stand by their side as we fight our common enemies, we are all better off. We get into shorter conflicts, fewer conflicts, and we save American lives. When we have an administration that conducts foreign policy by tweet, that abandons our allies and cozies up to dictators, that drives out military and diplomatic personnel when they disagree with them, and when they mislead the American people on a daily basis, we're all less safe. We're strongest when we bring all of our forces to the fight, and that means we need to continue to support diplomacy, trust intelligence, and stand by our allies, because when we don't, countries like Russia and China that don't share our values are going to fill that vacuum.
Thanks, James. Robin, did you need me to repeat the question?
I got it. I agree with Mark on this issue. Donald Trump invested over $738 billion in the military, which was again another increase over the last budget cycle. And in the press conference, he says 738 billion, that's right, billion with a B, as if he's bragging about us being the biggest spending military country in the world. This is not the reputation that we need. We need the reputation of making peace and building relationships around the world. $738 billion when there are 40 million people who are without health insurance because of COVID-19. We need to redirect military spending to families and to children and to educational programs and to support and finance Medicare for all, because the military is sufficiently funded. And I believe that there needs to be more funding toward programming that will make American citizens in a better position to live out the American dream.
Thanks, Robin. Okay. Our next question has to do with guns and gun violence. So it is, what steps, if any, should be taken to curb gun violence in our communities? What are your opinions on federal gun laws pertaining to those with domestic assault or violent crimes and keeping guns out of public schools? So this one is going to go to Mark, then Robin, then James, and then Marquita.
Thank you. This is a great question. What we're struggling with, and I think everyone wants to have a solution for, is the epidemic of gun violence that we have in our communities. Mental health is obviously a key component of this. The protection of people, particularly those who are in domestic situations where their lives are at risk, has got to be a fundamental priority of our entire criminal justice system and of our entire mental health system. We will save the most lives that we can by funding amply and sticking with enforcement of our laws when it comes to gun possession by those who are mentally disturbed. That goes to background checks. That goes to background checks for private sales. That goes for constant monitoring of people who possess guns. It's not a question. The Supreme Court has resolved about a right to bear arms, but when it comes to making that right as safe as possible, the mental health piece has got to be first and foremost the major component of our solution to this problem. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Robin, you're up next. Did you need me to repeat that question?
No, I got it. Thank you. Tennessee is ranked number 4 in women who are murdered by their intimate partners. Black women are murdered at a rate twice than their white counterparts. We have got to address gun violence on a national level, just in domestic situations, just like I did when I worked for the Tennessee Coalition to End Domestic and Sexual Violence. Almost 5 years ago, I worked on legislation that would keep firearms out of the hands of persons who have been convicted of domestic assault here in Tennessee, and firearms out of persons who are under orders of protection. Domestic relationships are particularly concerning when guns are at stake, because the lethality increases. I spent 10 years as a legal counsel for the Tennessee Coalition to End Domestic and Sexual Violence, and I have worked tirelessly on legislation here in the state of Tennessee on this issue. We started off on that bill with a Lexus, but we ended up with a good-looking Honda. And I'm going to do the same when I go to Washington. I'm going to expand the Violence Against Women's Act to close the dating relationship loop, to expand the definition of misdemeanor crime of domestic violence to include dating relationships, to keep firearms out of the hands of persons who are likely to kill their intimate partner. Second, I'm going to fight for universal background checks. Thirdly, I'm going to make sure that we ban the sale of assault rifles. And I have the experience to do this. I did it at the Tennessee Coalition. I know how this issue has an impact on the state of Tennessee. No longer should we always be in the top 10 of states where women are murdered by their intimate partners.
Thanks, Robin.
Thank you.
James, you're up. Did you need to repeat the question?
Please.
Okay. That was, what steps, if any, should be taken to curb gun violence in our communities? What are your opinions on federal gun laws pertaining to those with domestic assault or violent crimes and keeping guns out of public schools?
We can never accept gun violence as an ordinary part of American life. Now, I'm a military veteran and I'm a gun owner, and I know that we can protect the Second Amendment and keep guns out of the hands of dangerous people like terrorists, domestic abusers, and the dangerously mentally ill. Like 86% of Tennesseans, I support expanding background checks to all gun sales. The House passed a bipartisan bill to do that more than 400 days ago, and it still hasn't gotten a vote in Mitch McConnell's controlled Senate. We need to make a change. We need to win elections. We need to elect a senator who will do something about gun violence.
Thanks, James. Marquita, I'm sorry, you're up. Did you need me to repeat the question?
No,
Okay.
I think with me being a part of a community where there was always some type of gun violence, it has really shaped the response that we should be moving in, not only with legislation, but also changing and reimagining our public safety system, especially when it comes to domestic violence. We need to have people who are able to provide mental health for the abuser and the victim, so we can stop the cycle of violence. Mental health and gun violence is so closely aligned when it comes to some of the most tragic scenes in our American history, where people were shot to death in a church. We have to address our culture of violence and know that the love affair with guns should not be pushed over human life. We don't need all those magazine things. I'm not a gun owner. I do know how to shoot one. I've been trained to be one, to shoot for hunting, but not for people. And that's what some guns are made for, is to kill a lot of people. And those are military style weapons, and they should not be in our society. We should have gun safety education, storage, and a license to own a gun, have extreme risk red flag laws, and conduct strong background checks. We should also be encouraging the Center for Disease Control to research gun deaths and injuries in the same way it researches other health issues in order to find workable solutions.
Thank you, Marquita. Okay, so our next question has to do with immigration, and that is, what, if any, steps should our nation take to reform current immigration policies, especially regarding the Dreamers or DACA kids? And we're going to have Mark, and then we're going to have Robin, and then Mark, and then Marquita, and then James.
I support pathways to immigration for the Dreamers and DACA. I also support that we continue to keep pathways of immigration in place now. As the legal counsel for the Tennessee Coalition to End Domestic and Sexual Violence, I managed our immigrant legal clinic. I helped to provide legal services for immigrant victims of domestic violence and sexual assault and trafficking victims. We need to keep the U visa, the T visa, and the VAWA self-petition and TPS in place. Because as we affirm these immigration pathways, we affirm who we are as these United States of America. I do support the current legislation on the Senate floor to reform how we treat those who are undocumented here in the United States. I do also support the decriminalization of status here in the United States. Thank you.
Thanks, Robin. Next, Mark, you're up.
Thank you. You know, in 1986, we as a nation had a grand compromise. We legalized the 3 million unlawful aliens in the United States, and we agreed that we would make the hiring of illegal labor to be a crime under our federal laws. Since we passed that statute, we've had over 30 million unlawful aliens in the United States and remain here, and we have had at most in any administration, Republican or Democrat. Hey, James. We've had at most 12 prosecutions under the 1986 law. We must enforce our existing criminal laws regarding the hiring of illegal labor, and we must be with regards to not just permitted, encouraged to come to the United States so that they could work here. So on this issue, it's important for us to continue to look at how, and this is related to our racial justice and social justice in this country. The primary victims of illegal labor are African-American males. When we over-police African-American communities and under-police the hiring of illegal labor by businesses, we are engaging in systemic racism. We should stop it. We should start by enforcing our laws and being compassionate by those people that we have encouraged to come here because we've not enforced our laws. And that would be my approach as a United States Senator. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Marquita, you're up next for this. Did you need me to repeat the question?
No. Our immigration policy, as of recent, has begun to reflect dehumanizing people to the point where you put children in cages. Our immigration policy has been reflected where you call human beings aliens for seeking refuge from tyranny, violence, and failing governments. Either we're going to be true who we say we are as Americans and have a true pathway to citizenship, or we're going to be hypocritical. This is the time that we as Democrats need to watch our language when we're talking about our brothers and sisters who are across the world, who are looking for better opportunities, better working conditions, better education, because they want an opportunity that we say we are the beacon of the world of for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Now, we cannot be hypocritical, and we do need to have a true pathway for people to come in as citizens and not be hurting families by ripping them apart. When we look at the world, we have to make those investments that stabilize some of the conditions that are causing Central America, the fleeing from Central America. You can read more about my immigration policy this week as I post it online. Thank you.
Thanks, Marquita. James, you're up next. Do you need me to repeat the question?
Sure.
Okay. What, if any, steps should our nation take to reform current immigration policies, especially regarding the Dreamers or DACA kids?
Our immigration system is broken. That broken immigration system is keeping millions in the shadows. It's making us all less safe, and it's holding back our economy. What we have to do is tackle comprehensive immigration reform. I support the approach taken in 2013. 68 senators passed a sensible, bipartisan, comprehensive immigration reform bill. Bill Hagerty doesn't support that kind of approach. When the Farm Bureau, the Chamber of Commerce, the American Farm Workers Union, and 68 senators, as diverse as Lamar Alexander, Senator Corker, Senator Tester, Rubio, and Elizabeth Warren, when they all support the same thing, you know that that was a full team effort to get something done. And that's what we need right now. Passing comprehensive immigration reform will help protect the Dreamers. It'll secure our borders, improve our economy, and reduce the deficit by as much as $900 billion. Now, rather than working with our businesses and agricultural leaders here in Tennessee, Bill Hagerty is going to go to Washington. He's going to do what Mitch McConnell wants, which is to protect his power and do nothing to solve this problem. We are not going to fix immigration with our so-called leaders tweeting to their base, stoking divisions, repeating sound bites, and accomplishing nothing while this problem only gets worse.
Thanks, James. Okay. All right, our next question is, what are the differences between Medicare for all and Medicare for those who want it? What do you say to those who like the insurance that they have? And our order is going to start with James and then go to Marquita, Robin, and then Mark. So James, if you would.
Fixing our healthcare system is the most important issue in this campaign. Mitch McConnell's Senate has done everything it can to undermine the Affordable Care Act, trying to repeal it, and now pursuing a lawsuit that's gone all the way to the Supreme Court, which would take healthcare away from 1.3 million Tennesseans with pre-existing conditions. If Bill Hagerty's elected, he's going to help him do that. Sound bites are not going to fix healthcare, but sending me to Washington will. We need to allow the government to negotiate drug prices so that we can bring down the cost of prescription drugs. We need to fix the Affordable Care Act. And if our gerrymandered supermajority here in Tennessee won't expand Medicaid, we need to do so in Congress. I don't know if Medicare for all will work, but let's let people buy in at a younger age and see how it goes, because COVID-19 has made it more clear than ever that Tennesseans need a senator willing to work to improve healthcare rather than sending someone to team up with Marsha Blackburn and Mitch McConnell and Donald Trump to take it away.
Thanks, James. Marquita, did you need me to repeat the question?
No. The American Affordable Care Act in its original form was a single payer system like Medicare for all. I'm old enough to know that because we were working on the ground as a union organizer, laying the foundation for the American Affordable Care Act to get passed in its current form. We have to look at what is needed to make sure that Tennesseans don't go bankrupt from seeking needed medical care like I did. We need to make that a practice of the past. And the way the healthcare system is set up now as a commodity, that's going to keep your neighbors who don't have health insurance from being able to access medical care. Don't you want your neighbors to have medical care? Don't you want people to be able to go to the doctor without being bankrupt? That means that we have to do things differently. We have to fight for legislation that guarantees when you go to the doctor, you will not leave with a bill that would bankrupt your family. Simplifying our system of healthcare in this country, we don't have to worry about co-pays, deductibles, insurance premiums, and never-ending list of things that keep you from getting care. Right now, during COVID-19, a lot of people are not going to the doctor because they are afraid to have a medical bill. And that means that this pandemic is festering. We need to make sure that our medical system is all inclusive of mental, dental, vision, comprehensive reproductive health care that includes the woman's right to choose, addiction wraparound services, and health legislation about healthcare in Tennessee. People need that right now.
Thank you, Marquita. Robin, did you need me to repeat the question?
I got it. Thank you.
Thanks.
I support Medicare for all, single payer program. I believe that nobody should have to struggle with trying to figure out how to figure out their health insurance. Because I've been there with my 2 dependent children. And no one should have to go bankrupt, as Marquita said, to pay for their health insurance bills. I talk about my story all the time with my 2 dependent children and paying almost $300 for my son's medication. But I met a woman on the campaign journey whose medicine is between $350,000 and $400,000 a year. She has a chronic disease and she still works. So she depends on her employer-based insurance to get medicines from Canada and another country to try to deal with the cost so that she can live. So I believe that we need a program where people can go to the doctor and not worry about having to pay any bills or the cost of their medication. And I would say to those persons who are enjoying their healthcare insurance right now, that because it's employer-based, it's not stable. 40 million people lost their jobs because of COVID-19, and there are more job losses and furloughs to come. So employer-based insurance is not something we can bank on. Employer-based insurance is something that comes and it can go. And this is why I support Medicare for all.
Thank you, Robin. Mark, did you need me to repeat the question?
No, thank you. Appreciate it, Autumn. From day one of my campaign, I put my healthcare platform on my website for everybody to see, because I think that we have 3 goals that we need to achieve, and there are 3 ways to do that. We need greater flexibility, we need greater accessibility, and we need an assured safety net. And that's why I have a 3-pronged approach to healthcare. First, we have the Affordable Care Act, which we can reduce the cost by making that available across state lines, which is a key thing for Congress to do. And that's a good system. But one of the things that we've done is, because the Supreme Court has ruled that to be non-mandatory, we have 15 to 20% of the Americans who choose not to get even an Affordable Care Act plan. And so we need to create greater accessibility by having health insurance that covers high deductible, including copays, that will cover disease or accident or that sort of thing. And most importantly, and it's related to what Ms. Kimbrough Hayes talked about, we have to make sure that everyone, unrelated to their employment situation, unrelated to their income, has access to health care. So I believe that a means-tested opt-in to Medicare is the best way. I don't think single payer is the best system. I think the American people will reject the lack of flexibility of a single payer system. But I do think that if we have a three-pronged approach, we can cover flexibility, accessibility, and our safety net. And that's why from day one, that's been my plan and that's my program. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Okay. What kinds of policies, if any, will you pursue to promote social and racial justice in our communities? We're going to go Marquita, Mark, James, and then Robin.
You know, working on social justice issues for over 25 years, we've worked in working groups to propose legislation. And the problem was always we would get the legislation so far when it came to the environment. We would get it all the way through the House of Representatives. And we didn't have a United States senator from our state that knew how important it was to serve Tennesseans when it came to environmental racism. When it came to low wages and people getting paid less than $15 an hour across the state of Tennessee, we did not have a senator that took upon themselves to know how important it was for our economy to have not only just a living wage, but create a sustainable index that keeps up with what things cost in societies. We have so much data that can drive this conversation on how to create social justice solutions within our criminal justice system to move towards a transformative system where it's more about reform and giving people opportunities to rebuild their lives. We cannot ignore what's going on in the environment because, like my community, our health has been impacted for not just this generation, but for multi-generations. We have to move together to create the type of legislation that you see on my website at marquitabradshaw.com.
Thank you, Marquita. Mark, did you need me to repeat the question?
No, thank you. On this topic, a lot of people ask me, why do you focus so much on economic issues when we have such pressing racial and other social justice issues in play? And the answer is because we cannot have racial and social justice in the United States of America unless we have economic justice. My economic platform is motivated strongly and heavily by a desire for social justice for everybody in this country. I actually believe that my plan is the only plan that's comprehensive enough to deal with the underlying problems that lead to our social inequities in our society. And so when it comes to racial justice, my entire career as a lawyer has been focused on criminal justice reform. I've had some major cases that have helped bring criminal justice reform to our society. My representation of Centoya Brown in her federal habeas appeal at the time that she was pardoned by the governor is only one example of the type of legal work that I've done when it comes to racial justice. Because of my work with the Voting Rights Act and with criminal justice reform, I was asked to be on the Tennessee Advisory Committee of the United States Civil Rights Commission by the United States Civil Rights Commission. So my intent when it comes to social justice should not be in doubt. My method for solving and resolving issues of social and racial justice also should not be in doubt. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. James, you're up next. Did you want me to repeat the question?
No, that's not necessary. We have to stop murdering Black Americans this second. Now, there's a lot of work to do to address how racism impacts every single aspect of our society, and it does in health outcomes, economic outcomes, education outcomes, every single aspect of our society. Let's just take a look at criminal justice just for a second. I've spent the better part of a decade working with the Federal Public Defender's Office in the federal criminal justice system. Look at the lengths that the president is willing to go to exonerate his friend, Michael Flynn, who pled guilty to treason for colluding with a foreign adversary, or his willingness to commute the sentence of another close friend just yesterday. The president is advocating and arguing for those individuals. Compare that to the experience of my clients caught up in a federal criminal justice system, facing rigid sentencing guidelines and harsh mandatory minimums, often for nonviolent offenses. I was their only voice in the courtroom. Now, the President's First Step Act, it was only a first step. His executive order on policing, it doesn't do enough. We need real reforms codified into law, which is why I support the Justice and Policing Act that was brought forward by the Congressional Black Caucus and passed by the House with bipartisan support. But we can't let the Justice and Policing Act get stuck on Mitch McConnell's desk of inaction with so many other important issues. We have a lot of work to do to heal the deep wounds that have been here for a long time, and that starts the second we stop murdering Black Americans.
Thank you, James. Robin, you're up next. Did you want me to repeat the question?
I think I have it. When addressing issues of social justice and inherent racism in our system, we need someone that has been in this fight for years, in the courtrooms and outside of the courtrooms. We need someone who's been with the people and who understands this experience firsthand. I consider myself sitting in the middle of the dry bones of racism and hate in our community. And the way that we make these bones live is that we have got to put more money in our schools' Title I systems that provide for brown and Black children and poor children. We have got to put more money in our school systems to give marginalized groups a head start. Certain zip codes should not be better and safer than other zip codes. Number two, we've got to break the inherent system of racism and how we fund college educations. We need loan forgiveness programs. We need to actually cancel school loan debt. Number three, we need to pass robust criminal justice reform legislation. This includes the Justice and Policing Act. But if I were your senator today, I would stand with Cory Booker and Kamala Harris and pass this act, but I would expand it so that we can make sure police officers are accountable for their conduct by denying them burn and cops money when they are involved in behavior as we saw with George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and Rashad Brooks. And
Thank you, Robin.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on. Should the government encourage companies like Tesla with tax breaks? Mark, and then Robin, and then James, and then Marquita.
Absolutely not. My motto is choosing Main Street over Wall Street because the bailouts of the corporate economy by our government for many, many years is one of the great travesties of our current economic and political system. There is absolutely, when we're running up massive deficits, giving money to corporations to spend it on stock buybacks is the absolute worst waste and spending of money one can imagine, other than some of the nuclear bomb stuff we talked about earlier. It is destructive. Does not benefit the average working person at all. It creates greater economic inequality, which creates greater political inequality and instability. And so the negatives are all there. The positives do not exist. And so I have been against bailouts from day one. It's been on my platform from day one. It will not change. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Robin, you're up next. Did you need me to repeat the question?
Yes.
Okay. It was, should the US government encourage companies like Tesla with tax breaks?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Lamar Alexander brought up the fact that people who needed their unemployment checks were just essentially using this money to sit on the couch. Lamar Alexander wants to criticize hardworking American people who lost their jobs to COVID-19, but ignores the bailouts and the trillions of dollars given to corporations to get them back on their feet. This is not the first bailout. Trump is always dropping money on his corporate friends. When people need health care, when people need to eat, when people need to survive. And I promise you, as your United States Senator, people will be my priority over politics. You can be endorsed by a whole lot of people. Like Haggerty says he's endorsed by Trump. But the most important person or entity you need to be endorsed by is the people. You need to have a people's platform that believes that lives are more important than big businesses.
Thanks, Robin. James, you're up next. Did you want me to repeat the question? You're muted.
No, I've got it. Thank you. We need to rebuild the middle class. This system is rigged. People are struggling, and we need change that will give all Tennesseans the opportunity to achieve the American dream. I and all of us have met Tennesseans who haven't gotten raises in years. They're working longer hours. They're still falling further behind. People are deeply worried about being able to send their kids to college, to save for their own retirement. They wonder if Social Security or Medicare will even be there for them. A hard day's work should earn a living wage. Women need equal pay for equal work. Now, there is an important role for the federal government to play here, investing in things that create good, high-paying jobs now and into the future, like infrastructure, education, clean energy technology. Also, something that's near and dear to me is there should be more incentives for service so that young people can get involved in their communities. They can work with and learn from folks they might not otherwise meet and help pay for college. Tennesseans that work hard and play by the rules and do their best ought to be able to obtain the American dream. We have a lot of work to do.
Thanks, James. Marquita, you're up next. Did you want me to repeat the question?
No, I'm good. Thank you. We keep using the same broken formula, corporate welfare. And when it comes to the safety nets that's going to help Americans right now, it has failed people during a pandemic. They do not have health care, and they're still waiting on unemployment. Just imagine what we could do if we invest in education equity and make sure that our children have the things that they need to learn at home in order to keep them safe from a pandemic. Just imagine what we can do in investing those dollars that was given to Wall Street 3 times within 48 hours, and that we do not know the price tag about. If we put that into Main Street and into clean, renewable energy, just imagine what rebuilding our aging infrastructure could do. Making sure that every American has drinkable water could bring over 300,000 jobs. And that would be creating healthy and safe communities. Just imagine, we need to reinvest in what works in America, and that's the people.
Thank you, Marquita. Okay, our last question has come to us from our live stream. I think we did so well with our questions and answers that the live stream wasn't that active. Everybody was just listening and paying attention. But we did get one, and we have time for one more question. So this question is from Barbara, and she says, Donald Trump likely looked the other way while Putin put bounties on the heads of American soldiers. What should our national response be now and after he is defeated in November? And so for this question, the order is going to be Robin, Mark, Marquita, and then James.
This is another example of Donald Trump turning a blind eye to the behavior of the Russians. And this time, the lives of fathers, brothers, friends, uncles were put at stake for his gains with Russia. Our national response should be to hold Russia accountable for their behavior. And our national response as the people is to vote out Donald Trump. This is not the first time that he has used American lives to benefit his personal maneuvers and foreign policy decisions. Donald Trump has failed the American people. Donald Trump has endorsed Bill Haggerty and the other Republican candidates' support and have drank the Kool-Aid of Donald Trump. And if we do not want to have this same cycle happening as we move in new senator leadership once Donald Trump is defeated, I'm asking that you vote for me because I can flip the seat. I can beat whatever Republican wins the nominee. Thank you.
Thank you, Robin. Mark, did you need me to repeat the question?
No, thank you. Appreciate it though. The question here is obviously one of the most important foreign policy issues that we're ever going to have. What is our role when it comes to protecting American citizens, whether they be military or civilian? And the answer has always got to be that we will make the protection of American citizens and soldiers our highest priority. To the extent that the reports of a bounty on American soldiers' heads is in place, then the only appropriate response is maximum diplomatic and economic responses. Now, the question ultimately is do you go to war over something like that? That's the sort of thing that we may have to go to war over. And I really say that reluctantly. So I think diplomatic responses, a cutting off of diplomatic ties, a cutting off of economic ties, most importantly, a cutting off of financial ties is called for if that type of intelligence is confirmed. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Marquita, did you need me to repeat the question?
No, thank you. When we hear that the leader of our country is making friends with people who are doing things that are detrimental to our democratic process and also killing our soldiers, that's unacceptable. That is very un-American. We have people that are from all over Tennessee that go into the armed forces to escape poverty. And to think that somebody's child got their heads chopped off trying to escape poverty and find another way is unacceptable. This president has, I'm not gonna even say his name no more because I don't even want the energy going into saying his name, and I wish y'all would do the same. But talk about the issues what this president has created in our foreign reputation. We have made friends with enemies and made enemies of our friends. And that makes us look bad as a nation. So we have to repair the relationships that we have with our allies. And we have to not only hold Russia accountable with economic sanctions, we also need to deal with the person who will not be 46 because we are all going to organize to make sure he does not get another term.
Thank you, Marquita. James, did you need me to repeat the question?
Please.
Okay. Okay. Donald Trump likely looked the other way while Putin put bounties on the heads of American soldiers. What should our national response be now and after he is defeated in November?
What I've read really disturbs me. I've lost friends in Afghanistan. When we send my brothers and sisters in arms into battle, they ought to know that the commander-in-chief is acting with their best interests in mind. This intelligence once again emphasizes the need for leaders in the US Senate who are willing to hold the president accountable for the safety and benefit of all Americans. Bill Haggerty, Trump's former ambassador to Japan, actually said he's never seen the president do anything that he thinks jeopardizes America's position in the world. From calling for the president to militarize our streets through the Insurrection Act, to calling for war with Iran, to signaling his support for anti-government militias, to his silence on the president stealing millions from Fort Campbell to fulfill a campaign promise, and now offering nothing amidst intelligence reports that a global adversary has paid bounties to kill American service members, Bill Hagerty has shown he is unfit to represent Tennesseans at Fort Campbell or anywhere across the volunteer state. I'll be a senator who stands up to anyone when their actions jeopardize the safety of our service members or threaten our national security.
Thanks, James. So we're going to wrap up, and just to remind everyone, we've put links to all of the candidates' websites and Facebook pages in the chat in the live stream so that you can get more information on your candidates. And I'm going to give each candidate about 2 minutes to kind of close off and mention anything that they think was important that might have been missed. So we're going to start with Marquita, if you could wrap it up.
I am a candidate that has lived the issues that we are experiencing right now as a country when it comes to racial disparities, when it comes to economic injustice. My family members have been a part of the system that just throws people away and does not give them an opportunity to regain their lives after mistakes are made. We need to move towards a different direction in this country. I am the only candidate that is fit to lead us into the next generation of moving away from racism, because it's going to take somebody who knows how to be connected to the community in order to get the results that we need and reflect. This U.S. Senate seat does not have time for people to have a learning curve when it comes to the environment, when it comes to education equity, or when it comes to creating an economy that works for hardworking families. That's why you should vote for me, Marquita Bradshaw, the candidate that's committed to fight for hardworking families to have healthy and safe communities where they live, learn, work, worship, and recreate. You can go to my website and volunteer and donate. Thank you.
Thank you, Marquita. Robin, you're up next.
Leadership is supposed to advocate for democracy, liberty, and equality. And our Republican national leadership has chipped away at the very foundation of these principles. This is why I'm running to be your United States Senator. We need to change the culture of our nation. The Republicans have already outspent us, but don't lose hope. We can still win in November. We're going to have to win with a different face of leadership. Leadership that has the skills, the insight, and the passion to reach out to the people of Tennessee and get them out to vote. To get them believing once again that truly we are one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And as I said at the opening, the fight that got me out of the trailer park, out of Kentucky, to the courtrooms in Tennessee, I'm going to bring to Washington, D.C. as your United States Senator. I'm going to fight for you. I'm going to keep in touch with you because I understand my supervision in this role, the people. I have a people's platform, one that reflects your needs, your interests, and your need for change. I'm asking that you go to my website, robinforsenate.com, learn more about me, and vote for me, passion for Tennessee.
Thanks, Robin. James, you're up next.
Thank you, and thank you again for having me here for today's discussion. There's too much at stake to lose sight of what we're fighting for in this election. On issue after issue, Washington is failing Tennessee. Our hospitals are closing, opioids aren't being addressed, and the trade war hurts our economy more than any other state. You add in COVID-19, there's a perfect storm gathering here in Tennessee. People want change, and we can win this open U.S. Senate seat if we seize the initiative. Our choice this year is to send another Marsha Blackburn to the US Senate, and that is exactly what Bill Hagerty has promised to be, or we can make change. It is exhausting to hear the things that Marsha Blackburn says on Fox News representing Tennessee every single day. Marsha Blackburn got 44% last cycle. That means we need 6 points more in a presidential year at a time when things aren't getting better in Tennessee, and we can make that happen. I got in this race early because there's a lot of work to do to get those 6 more points. My campaign is and always has been about meeting Tennesseans where they are, listening to what they need and are not getting from Washington. I'm honored that people like Leader Karen Kemper, Governor Bredesen, Mayor Madeline Rogero, and so many others have endorsed my campaign. I'm proud that individual grassroots donors in all 95 counties have heard my message and personally invested in my campaign and in sending better leadership to Washington. The Tennessee AFL-CIO, Tennessee firefighters, Planned Parenthood and NARAL, Vote Vets, Serve America, Gabby Gifford's Gun Safety Group, Let America Vote, and Citizens United, and the DSCC have all joined our team. I'm a different kind of candidate. I'm an outsider, a veteran, a man of faith, and my track record of service appeals to voters all across the state of Tennessee. What we need to do is keep building the team and raising the money to make sure that story is told. This is an uphill battle. We need everyone pitching in to change the state and flip the US Senate. So go to jamesmackler.com, sign up to volunteer, talk about the race on social media, donate what you can. I'm asking for your vote on August 6th and again in November, because we will win this open US Senate seat when everyone wanting change joins the team to make it happen. Again, thank you for having me.
Thanks, James. Mark, you're up.
Thank you, Autumn. I really appreciate it. And thank you to all the people of Sevier County, all the Dems in Sevier County who are part of this great local organization. It's exactly the local Democratic Party that I've loved seeing. So for example, today I spent great time in Johnson County, up in Mountain City, right outside of there right now as we speak, because it's a great chance to see the life and the energy and the commitment and the passion of our local Democrats. Our Democratic establishment has lost for 30 years. So I ask every Democratic voter to ask the question, what is the best chance that we will have in November? With which candidate will we have the best chance in November, so that we can stop the business as usual where we have lost statewide race after statewide race for an entire generation? I entered in this race because I believe that I can do that, but it's my opinion that doesn't matter here. It's the opinion of the Democratic voters of this state who know their fellow citizens in Tennessee, who know which of the 4 of us has the best chance in November. And I hope that each of you will ask yourself that question. And if you think it's me, great, please vote for me. If you think it's one of the other candidates, great, please vote for them. It's your understanding of the people of Tennessee that matters. It's not the bigwigs in Nashville. It's not me. It's you that matters. And so I hope that that's what you'll think about as you decide who to vote for on this primary, either in early voting on the 17th or through to the primary on August 6th. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. So I want to thank the candidates and everyone watching our live stream for joining us today. I hope that everyone was able to watch and attend the sessions of their candidates that they wanted to learn more information about. The sessions that we taped will be available in our video section of our Facebook page from now on, so you can watch them, you can share them with your friends, your family, get the word out about the candidates. Please be sure to check out the candidates' Facebook pages and websites. Every candidate is working really hard to get elected, and they need volunteers and donations to get the word out. So if you've missed any of the websites that we've provided, they're all in one place on our Facebook page at sevier.tndp.org. And last but not least, please be sure to get out and vote on August 6th, and more importantly, on November 3rd. So thank you all so much for coming today. I really do appreciate it.